Water Rocket, a fun weekend or science class project where you grab an old soft drink bottle, fill it a third full with water, and then pressurize it until you're ready to launch. Now, if you want to improve its performance, you can add some fins and a nose cone, and then you get this. Now we chuck it on the launch pad, pressurize it as much as we can until that happens. Now, most water rocket designs stop here, since there's not much else you can do, as you're limited by the size and strength of the standard soft drink bottle. But it's not impossible to go bigger. Although yes, my first attempt was a complete flop, it led me to a man who has been learning from his mistakes and failures for almost 9 years now, and is pushing the envelope of what can be achieved in water rocketry. Today, we're going to meet him. Hi George.
Hi Paul.
Great to finally meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Why don't you come on inside?
Sure. So George, what keeps you interested in water rocketry, even after 9 years of involvement?
I guess there's always new challenges. You're always pushing sort of materials to their limits. When you try a particular design, sometimes things will work the way you'd expect them to, but most often they're not. There is some unusual behavior, either materials are too weak, or maybe they've got unusual properties that you weren't expecting at the time of launch. So yeah, that keeps us interested.
I know when I'm preparing for a launch, things tend to spread around the entire house. Do you find the same happens for you?
No, absolutely never. No, at our house, pretty much you could go into every room and you'd find a water rocket component. We're very quickly running out of room in the house, and I think my wife's getting a little bit over it now.
How long would you say you spend on this hobby?
A lot of time. Usually I'd say 1 to 2 hours a day.
When George goes and does a rocket, you know, he's got all of his cameras set up and getting about 18 angles from each launch. And then he comes home and spends a week or two editing his own videos and then uploading it to his website. So I often refer to myself as a rocket widow for that reason, because, you know, he might go for a one-day launch, but he's quite busy for a while afterwards.
What do your two boys think of the way you spend your spare time?
I've got 2 boys. It's only time for rockets, right?
Well, the rocketry has taken us to a lot of cool events. They're
tending more towards the solid fuels these days, so that's okay, but they're great help when they come out, and they've always been, they've been around it most of their life.
The water rockets are still awesome. They're really cool. After all, my dad did get me into all of it.
They can't get away from it.
So how do we get beyond the restrictions of your standard single bottle water rocket?
Okay, so basically you want to extend the pressure chamber, and the way we do that is we glue multiple bottles together like this. You cut off the bases, you have to use a special glue, which in this case is a glue called PL Premium. When this is pressurized to about 120 psi, there's about a ton of force acting on that splice, so it has to be fairly solid glue. Now, you can make multiple versions of this and join them together with what are called tornado cubes. And you can extend your rocket as long as you like. Now, beyond that, if you want to get even higher performance, you can reinforce the bottles. And we can do that with a technique just by wrapping it in fiberglass, and that lets you put in much more pressure for higher performance. So the next thing you have to do is you've got to get your rocket back safely, because the bigger the rockets you build, the more likely they are going to come back damaged without a recovery system. So you can build a parachute recovery system. The one here we're using is an electronic timer with a battery on top and a little servo motor that holds a parachute door that's closed. We can give you a quick demonstration of this. So we turn it on, and we're going to pretend we launch here. until it's armed. System's armed. Rocket launches and a preset delay later. Parachute should come out. There she goes. And that's how you get them back safely.
Now you may remember me mentioning my first attempt of launching a complex water rocket, which ultimately was a bit of a flop. Well, that was 3 years ago now, and like George, I got hooked on the hobby straight away. So I figured, why miss a perfectly fine launch opportunity? Introducing the Apollo 6. Let's hope it works.